to me, it'd be hard to imagine taking Michael Mayer over Dalton Kincaid, and I could totally see why Kincaid would go in front of all the receivers in this class, even though that makes me nervous because of what you said about the tight end position, that it's just been really hard to project. But I'm almost a little surprised that Kincaid doesn't have even more pop. I guess just because he didn't play as much. Maybe that's it, because he just looks like when I saw DJ Daniel Jeremiah, our guy, like rank him that high without the tape as much. Like, man, I think it's for a reason. His hands are crazy. He shakes off tacklers like crazy, and his burst is just wild for a tight end at that size. Like, I don't need to see the testing. It's there on the field. Like, he has balance, he has the hands, but it's the burst to me, because I think that's the easiest. I think the eye test does matter a little bit, and I think burst is something you can see. And, like, that dude is just going to get open. It's, like, hard to imagine if he's in the right system not making a ton of plays. And so, to me, he's more exciting, and that I'm just falling for the shiny object. And I could totally see him going in front of any wide receiver in this class, and definitely I would want him ahead of Mayer.
You know the meme that gets shared on Twitter all the time, where it's like the guy who's all of a sudden leans forward in his chair when he's doing the video games. He's got the controller in his hands. Like, this is, to me, what happened when I turned on the Kincaid tape.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, hold on. You have my attention, because I kind of went in like thinking, oh, he's probably a little bit overrated, but no, I loved everything about it. It was like one of the most exciting. There's like 3 or 4 players that you kind of like think of when, because they're like, honestly, going through 100 and 200 players, during the draft process, it becomes a slog. So he was one of like a handful of guys that I'm just like, seriously, whoa, this guy's awesome. I love this player. And I think, to me, you mentioned like it's hard to imagine anyone picking Mayer over him. I think, to me, it's just stylistically, what do you want? It's kind of like the receiver position. There's just so many different types of receiver out there that it's almost like a vibe thing. What kind of player do you want in your offense? So I could absolutely see Kincaid going over Mayer. It just depends on who's picking at that point.
I want the big playmaker. That's the vibe I like. I mean, they both have great hands. You can't tell me Dalton Kincaid doesn't have great hands. He has great hands too.
No, he does, for sure.
I'm with Greg. I'm getting to the tape maybe a little bit later than you and fellow draft Knicks around the country, but someone that just jumped out to me, and I'm not alone in this one, was just Darnell Washington. And I'm thinking of a clip I saw where he was in a shifting situation with another big-bodied individual who was 6'4", and he towered over him because he's 6'7". He's 264. He's doing stuff at the combine with like the 20-yard shuttle that's insane. Like, I don't know how this guy escapes the first round on any level, because it's just like the concept of what you could do with him and how athletic he is and what he looks like on a football field is just like, sign me up for the next 7 or 8 years of this individual.
Yeah. I mean, it's planet theory, right? There's just not very many guys on the planet that big and that fast, that athletic. And I was actually pretty shocked to see him. I think he ran the 3rd fastest 3-cone at the combine of any player, not just tight end, like of any players, like Jackson Smith and Jigba in a corner or something, were faster than him in the 3-cone, which was shocking. I don't know if that necessarily shows up on tape, but
well, that's what you hear. Isn't that a problem? Everyone's like, well, you don't really see it when he plays football.
I think it just tells you maybe a little bit more just how good of an athlete he is. Not necessarily like going to show up in terms of his route running, but he's just a really good athlete. Really can, sink his hips and all that stuff. But to me, when I watched him, he's a dominant run blocker in space. Like, he engulfs people in the screen game when they get him moving in space, and like at the second level, he's absolutely dominant. So I think a team that likes using the screen game would absolutely love this guy. I think he's very good, or at least above average, as like an inline blocker, as a in the passing game. And so you can use him as a inline guy to have that extra protection to the quarterback. So like he can do a lot of different things for your offense. Plus, I think there's just a lot of meat on the bone in terms of his ability as a pass catcher. He's so big, so physical. He's 6'7", 265, or I think he played at like 280 something. Honestly, he might have slimmed down for the combine, but he's just such a dominant force in the red zone. You can just throw it up and let him go get it. I don't think he's the most natural pass catcher of this group, but his ability to be a run blocker and pass blocker and basically do it all is what is going to get him in the first round. He's probably going to be a first round pick, I'd say, just because of the physical traits and the upside there.